Hi guys and welcome to Rauta's opinion video. Today I'm out of beer, so I'll head for the whiskey and start talking about a topic that has been going on for quite a bit in my to-do list, so to say. And I'll start translating the basic idea which has been there in my to-do list for this opinion video. There's lots of ideas which I need to address at some point. But this went basically under the title as nostalgia and stagnation. And the short or brief version for the whole video is basically this. Stagnation is regression and nostalgia is horse shit. Why people are kind of like stuck in this crap instead of being interested in new bands, new genres and all that stuff. Now, I don't know about you people, but for me, this is an interesting thing, interesting issue and a question for many reasons. First of all, as a kind of a review guy, I've been pondering this for so many years. Why people are stuck with certain genres. Why they're just, stuck with same old bands and not going for anything beyond this kind of a comfort zone. Why people are just talking about old releases instead of going forward, exploring, doing what they used to do when they were kids. And to be honest, I don't think there is any like one perfect answer to this riddle or topic, but I have a couple of ideas and bear with me, I'll try to get you through what runs in my brain. But first of all, we need some juice to feel this thing going. Now, when I say that stagnation is regression, I need to open that a bit. First of all, by stagnation, what do we actually mean? Well, in this context, music, and especially metal music, it means that people find certain kind of music at a certain age. Usually, typically, people are maybe early teens or young adults when they find music that they kind of start their kind of career with. Sometimes people find bands already at their childhood years, being little kids and all that stuff. But I don't trust that crap. First of all, many people, when they're really young, they just listen to some crap their friends or parents or big brothers, big sisters and whatnot give them to, and as such they are kind of bound to just listen to whatever they are played to. So whatever, if you found Slayer or I don't know Venom at the age of 5, it doesn't mean that you kind of like wear that stuff already back in the days. Or I mean, it probably got you later on and all that stuff. Good for you, more kudos to you if you already understood the lyrics of Cannibal Corpse at the age of 4 and all that stuff. But let's be honest about it. Usually we start to kind of like finding our true calling in the terms of music a little bit later on. Teenage is a very sensitive age, and that is something I can totally live with. But even more, the young adult days or age, that is the time when we basically, set in stone more or less what the music is gonna be. I'm not saying it cannot change, because it can, and in some cases it will. It's more bound to do that, or it might even expand, but to only a certain limit. And as such, we are kind of prisoners to our own biology. There's some theories, at least, that basically say that by our 30s, we are not that capable of finding new genres. We are not that capable of expanding our musical taste. I don't know what other tastes that might apply to our taste in women and men, our taste for food or whatnot, but at least for music-wise, usually find the stuff around our teenage, maybe around early 20s or whatever, and we have like 10 years, 15 years span of time to figure out what's gonna be, and that's it. Then we're just kind of like written in stone, and things are gonna be like that. Now, this is stagnation. When you're like, I don't know, 25, 30, 40 even, and you're like listening to your old childhood favorites and no more than that. If you're like a kid who was born in the 70s, basically spent childhood years around 80s, you are more or less bound to kind of dig or understand at least the kind of 80s music. If that is like metal in context, because it is Rauta channel, not some pop music channel, then you're probably bound to have some history with bands like Metallica, Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Venom, and all that stuff. You're kind of bound to have this kind of a relationship with early stages of thrash metal, death metal, basic heavy metal, but not so much maybe with the stuff your parents were going, I don't know, back in the 70s or whatever. So what I'm trying to say here that we kind of find our music around the age where we're living. It doesn't matter if you get your music ideas from YouTube or music television as it used to be, or radio channels, or nowadays from streaming services, playlists. The same thing, in my opinion, applies to all of these. You just find music which you like, eventually, hopefully, and then you just kind of stuck with it. Maybe you explore a little bit. Say you start with thrash metal and you like it. You go to black metal and death metal and you're like, okay, hey, these are pretty cool, dude. These are more extreme, but why the hell not? Or maybe you're like, oh, I don't know, they're too extreme for my taste. I just want to go with power metal and listen to Halloween and all that stuff. But the point remains kind of the same. You find eventually the music you like, and then you kind of set that in stone. Already doing the letters in stone, you do your initials or, I don't know, John Hancock there, and there it is. Now, when you get older, you kind of don't necessarily even realize that you are already in this phase of regression. You don't get enthusiastic about new bands, especially if they are from new genres. You might even spit upon new genres like metalcore, post-metal, post-rock. What did that even mean? I don't like the tone of that. I just want to go with the old school heavy metal. Nowadays they don't do music like they did back in my old days. I mean, Metal Crew and stuff like that. That was real cool. Sounds familiar? Well, take a look at your parents or the generation before you, and that's exactly what you might be hearing. I mean, take a look at the older people. Once again, in metal context. Those who came prior to black metal. They might be, I don't know about those church burners. They are not to be trusted. What's going on with that weird penguin paint on the face? What's going on with the church burning and the weird sigils and symbols and all that stuff? I don't trust that crap. That is so childish. You should listen to Just Deep Purple and all that stuff. Okay? What about death metal? Same things could be said about. They're just singing about murder and violence. I don't like that crap either. And besides, they don't even sing. They growl like an animal. Is that supposed to be music? Now, we might be laughing at this like, yeah, Pa, Grandpa, you don't understand so much about music. Extreme metal is what it is. If you don't like screamy or growly vocals, if you don't understand these higher than your basic chasing the tail kind of lyrics, that's your problem. But let's take a look at the mirror, and suddenly we are like, hey, what are those young kids listening to some crappy music? They call it metalcore. I don't know. Cannot be metal. That's not how it was supposed to do. They have weird haircuts. They are hipsters. Oh, in my younger days, that wouldn't be allowed. I mean, metal used to be metal. When spikes and nails. Well, you get the point. The thing is, we are kind of stagnated, and in a way, it's also regression. Instead of going forward and like, hey, I don't want to be like that grandpa over there. I want to be me, the modern dude, the modern person who goes beyond these kind of things in concrete. I can just adapt, I can evolve, I can go further, I can just, cherish all kind of music. No boundaries needed, no ideologies pressing me down. I don't have to care about the other guy or the neighbor's taste of music. I can go on beyond without being any kind of hipster or gay persona or anything like that. I can just be me. Yes, the individuality, which is often, like praised, but also said like, hey, this is just a phenomenon of this particular era. And eventually, we are not unique snowflakes. We're just repeating the same thing over and over again. Now, as a review guy, I'm of course a little bit in a different positions from so many people. I'm kind of like force fed some music which I don't, by definition, by default, like. That might be some other genre kind of music. And of course, I could basically throw these CDs and vinyls away. It's like, hey, I'm not into this genre. Piss off. Next one. But I don't do that. There are a couple of reasons. First of all, I have way too high work ethics in order to do that. I just force-fed me the stuff I don't like, and I at least give it a chance. If I don't like it, at least point proven. This isn't my kind of music. It's not my cup of tea, not my genre. Case closed. The other thing is that I hate the idea of being stagnated. Obviously, when I take a look at my record collection, it's mostly stuff of the past decades. It's mostly 80s, mostly 90s. What about the modern stuff? Surely there's some, but I mean, let's put it in this way. From 1980 to 2018, there's like 38 years. And if I had to, pick records from my own, collection, it's not like there's like 25% of albums from 1980 to 1989 and 25% from 1990 to 1999, 25% from 2000 to 2009, and another 25% from 2010 to 2018 or whatever. Now you noticed this decade is not at end yet. It's not 220, or 2019. But the point remains the same. It's not like the collection is just like kind of like symmetrical in the sense of any given genres or any given time span. There are some favorite albums from certain kind of era and whatnot, and I'm kind of bound to be in that prison. Now, I might necessarily not like it, but then again, I'm also against this kind of forcefully kind of things, when you're having like, I don't know what's the proper word for English, so let me try to explain. I don't believe in this kind of forcefully done kind of amounts. What the hell is that word? Like people are like saying you have to have certain people at certain ethnic groups in evenly matter of sex, genre or whatever, just to keep it nice and equal and all that stuff. Well, I'm all for equality, but it doesn't work for music. I cannot just have, for the sake of it, 70s music, because most of the stuff is not something that I like. So it's not like I can have as many 2010 to 2018 albums as I'm supposed to have 1990s albums. Why? Because 1990s is the era when I'm mostly comfort with. Be it death metal or black metal, it's mostly from the 1990s. Surely there are lots of this millennium black metal releases, as much as they're like death metal releases probably. But I grew up mostly, my adult years in 1990s. And since I'm more into second wave of black metal rather than this modern third or whatever wave of black metal, or even first wave black metal when there are not so many bands, it's not like it can be done in a certain kind of equal way. Also, if we're talking about kind of like classic thrash metal, we cannot say that they are that amount of good thrash metal albums in like early 2000s as it was in the 1980s. So now that we understand these actual factors, these actual facts as well, it's so much easy to understand why there is this kind of a fear of stagnation and why the numbers are not necessarily backing me up. Like I said, I try to be open with the current day's music as much as any guy next to me, but do I actually? Do I actually manage to do that? Do you actually manage to do that? I mean, since we're different aged, guy who is like 18 and is watching this video, he probably doesn't even understand what I'm talking about here. Some guy in the 50s might be understanding but might not agreeing with me because obviously he's in a different position than me. But the point remains the same. As you get older, you probably find that your favorite albums are already from the past eras. You're not as likely to find new names which are actually new. Now, if you find new favorites, like, hey, man, I don't know why I always managed to skip this band during its whole existence, but now that I found this band, blah, 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 I'm totally in love with it. And when you take a look, oh, it's been around for 20 or 30 years. It's not that likely that you will find new bands which are also new style and you actually manage to like them, especially if you're 30 plus. So for example, when I was praising that Morgul EP is one of the best albums or releases this year in metal music, it's not that I'm praising new kind of music. Even though the band might be young, what the guys are actually doing is tapping their vein on the 80s and the 90s. So am I actually praising new music or just a new band which is actually kind of recycling old band's ideas? As such, recycling old music. Now, I'm not saying there's anything bad with that, but I'm kind of annoyed that so many people who claim that they're so much into music, they're music lovers, music collectors or whatnot, and yet when they are going to see a show, when they're gonna buy a new album, they probably go for the old favorites instead of actually actively, like proactively, going for new bands, new albums. Rather than checking out, hey, what's happening in the black metal underground, any cool new bands, they go for the Behemoth album. They go for Darkthrone, even though Darkthrone hasn't been doing anything like what they used to do back in the early 90s. Or in the case of Supercruise, it's always so easy to just fall in a trap. Hey, there's this Ultimus band, there's Dave Vincent from Morbid Angel, this guy who used to play Mayhem, it must be good. It might be, I don't know, the album will be out in 2019, but the point remains. People are going for familiar names, no matter how hard they betray you. Like when I was betrayed when I blindly bought Metallica's Load back in the 1990s. It certainly didn't feel the band I was in love with because I had spent my teenage years with the band. But still, that's what people do. And I kind of hope I'm totally wrong with this idea. So, to cap it off, don't regress, don't stagnate, don't go for nostalgia, go for the music you actually like. Doesn't matter what are the right reasons. Listen to good music, don't go for the nostalgic crap. Slanje, take care.